first assailant with the firearm, or the first suspect, when he enters and at the stage where he stops and points the firearm at the people in the house, exactly where did he stand relative to the sofa, your side of the sofa, where you were sitting?
Asikhuluma ngalo woqala ke ungenile uzothi la amekhona ke uma kuphi nendawo mayelana ke ne-couch owawuhlezi kuyona wena.
Wayemenje phambi kwethu ngapha kwa left.
He was just standing in front of us on the left side.
And in which hand was the firearm held by the first suspect as he pointed the firearm at the people in the house?
Nanjengoba isibhamu lesi sikhombile kubantu laba abaphakathi endlini, isibhamu lesi sasekusiphi isandla sakhe?
Lokho ke angisakukhumbuli kodwa nje wayesikhombile sona.
That I can't recall, but he was pointing us with with it.
And the position in which he was pointing the firearm at you, what position did he point the firearm at you? Was it hands chest in front, hands to the side? What position was that?
Ungathi ke uhlobo noma indlela yakhe wayesikhombe ngayo anikhombe ngayo ke unikhombe izandla zakhe zila eceleni noma unikhombe izandla zakhe noma isandla sakhe sila phambi kwakhe esifubeni.
Lokhu phambili esifubeni.
In front, chest, in front of the chest.
Now, when that first suspect demands money and cell phones, did anyone from the people in the house respond to that demand?
Uma esefuna ke imali nama cell phones, ukhona yini nina ke noma kulabo abaphakathi endlini ke owa responda noma owaphendula ke kuloko akushoyo?
Cha.
No.
Sorry, my lord, may I have a request?
Yeah, fine.
If I want to drink, because some judges, if I want to drink water, because some judges are physical, can I drink from here?
As long as there's no alcohol in the water.
Now, the firearm that you saw from your vantage point where you were seated, saying he was towards the left on the sofa where you were, can you describe it?
Isibhamu lesi ke owasibonaka kundawo ohlezi kuyona ungasichaza?
Oqala ibhamu ngizazi.
Firstly, I am not familiar with firearms.
Engikwaziwe nje ukuthi sasidark nyana.
What I know is that it was darkish.
Kwakungezona le ibhamu enkulu ezisindayo but sasesincane.
It was not the big, heavy firearms, but it was small.
Okay, let's break it down. A firearm is composed of 3 sections, and I'll explain them to you. The first part is the iron part, this long thing. It's called the barrel of a firearm. That's a pipe like, hollow pipe like, where the bullet travels to leave the firearm.
Chazela ke ngasisibhamu ukuthi la ngaphambili ke ile athi ibarrel ila inhlamvu ke ihamba khona.
What color was that part of that firearm?
La ngaphambili ke le ndawo ayichazayo ukuthi ubufuna ukwazi ukuthi kwakuumbalo onjani, sathi umbalo onjani la ngaphambili.
Okokuqala nje right now ngazuthi ukhuluma isiFrench ngoba ngiyazi nalento eshoyo.
Firstly, now it's like you're speaking French because I don't even know or understand what you are saying now.
Okay, let's break it down. In general, are you saying the whole firearm was black or blackish in color?
Ingabe uthi ke sasimnyama okanye si darkish ke ngokuchilo ke ngombala.
So umuntu mayikhomba ngesibhamu wena uzoma utadisha isibhamu ukuthi siyinhloboni sinjani.
If you are pointed with a firearm, are you now going to stand and study what kind or of a firearm it is?
We are going to have a problem if you answer my questions with a question because I don't answer to you.
Sizoba nenkinga ke uma kuukuthi umbuzo wami uphendula ngombuzo ngoba mina ke angiphenduli kuwena.
Kodwa umbuzo wakho mawungacacile uthi nguphendule kanjani?
But how do you expect me to answer your question if it is not clear?
What is it about the question that is not clear to you?
Yini engacacile ngalombuzo kuwena?
Isibhamu ngibuza ngaso ngishulo ngathi ibhamu ngizazi.
The firearm you are
Noma
asking.
uchaza mhlambe kumele ulethe isithombe usibeke la mhlambe uzongicacisela ngesithombe ngoba mawulokhu wenza ngezandla angazi ukuthi wenza.
The firearm you are asking me about, because I told you that I know nothing about firearms. Maybe if you were to put a photo in front of me and tell me, but if you explain using your hands, then I am lost.
The simple thing that I'm asking you is, if you relate to your friends that I was pointed with a firearm at an incident of a robbery, you'll say it was black and silver or the handle was brown. That's what I'm trying to ask from you. I'm not saying you are a firearm expert. You are a dancer, you are a singer, I know that.
Angithi ke ungoti kuyibhamu. Kodwa ke uma usuchazela asithi uchazela abangani bakho ke ukuthi bengikhonjwe ngesibhamu uzothi ke la emuva ke sasi black noma sasi silver uthi la ngaphambili sasimnyama ngiyakwazi ukuthi uyadanisa ke so angisho ukuthi unolwazi ngeibhamu yilokho nje ngikubuza ngaso.
Angisinaka ngesibhamu ukuthi sasinhloboni.
I didn't notice or take note of the firearm as to what kind it was.
Noma sasinombala onjani futhi.
Or what the color was.
Now, just to make sure that I understand where you were seated relative to where the person pointing the firearm was, so that perhaps we can clear this up once and for all. I'll ask that Exhibit D, photos 57 thereof, be shown to you, please.
It's photo number?
It's 57, my lord.
57,
Of
okay.
Exhibit D, 57, my lord.
All right. Now, in terms of the picture, if my recollection
serves me well, you and your mother, before the arrival of Longetwala, you were seated on the sofa on the left, correct?
Mangikhumbula kahle lesi sithombe wena noma ke ngaphambili kokuthi uLong wafike nanhlezi kule sofa ose left.
Cha kulona iqiniso lelo.
No, that's not true.
Okay, that's why I said if my memory serves me well, can you jog my memory, please?
Ngabe ngishila ko mangikhumbula kahle ungangikhumbuza ke.
Ngangihleli kulo sofa kwa right.
I was seated on the sofa on the right.
Thanks for that. Now, when the first suspect enters, I know that there's the beginning of the arc here. Relative to that, where was the first suspect at when you saw him pointing the firearm at the people in the house?
Ngiyazi ukuthi lana ke kulaqala khona ke iarc noma la vele khona ke kodwa ke mayela nje nalapha yana ke lona owokuqala wayemi kuphi ke nendawo yena uma engena endlini.
Njengoba ukhaphethe uphelela la uphelela khona yena wayeme phezu kwama-tiles.
Just where the carpet ends, he was standing on the tiles.
Now let's put an estimation of a distance between where you were seated and where he was. Just give me your educated guess in terms of distance.
Uma singaqagela nje ibanga ke la ayemi khona yena nala wena owawuhlezi khona.
Okokuqala imaths ngangizizonda esikoleni. So indaba yama-measurements nama-estimation into engakwazi ukuyenza leyo.
Firstly, I hated maths at school. So when it comes to distances and measurements, that's something I'm unable to do.
Okay. Let's take a simple guesstimate from where Mr. Jonas is, Mr. Interpreter, to the end of the big screen or somewhere relative. Can you estimate the distance from where Mr. Jonas is towards the end of the screen, or is it further than that?
Ukuthi uma la ngikhona mina ke uye la esiqinisela khona noma uyendlula.
Hayi nalokho kunzima nje ngoba akuyona indlu yasekhaya le.
Even that is difficult because that's not our home.
Okay,
My home.
just let me not belabor this point. Your view of the firearm as it's pointed to you, is it from the side? Do you see it from this side or from the front by the barrel?
La owawuhlezi khona isibhamu usibona eceleni noma usibona la ngaphambili.
Ngangisibona from eceleni.
From the side.
And from that vantage point, you couldn't tell the color of that firearm.
Njengoba ngisho nje ukuthi sasidarkish.
As I'm saying that it was darkish.
Let me track back to a question I asked you, and in response thereto, I asked you, when the firearm was pointed at the people in the house, what was the reaction? You stated that you froze. You remember that?
Ushilo ke wathi nje wena wafreeza ke uma nikhonjwe ngesibhamu yakhumbula lokho.
Ngiyakhumbula lokho.
Yes, I remember that.
But in your testimony yesterday, you said when this thing was happening, you immediately took your phone and hid it under a cushion. Do you remember that?
Kodwa ke izolo uthe umufakazi wakhe ukuthi kwathi uma kwenzeka lokho wase ngaleso sikhathi ke wathatha ifone yakho wayifihla ke emuva kwecushion.
Yebo ngisho njalo kodwa ngakwenza lokho emva kokuthi uLongwe amphushe.
Yes, I said so, but I did that after Longwe had pushed him.
Now, going forward, your story is that the second suspect then, in fact, let me put it this way so that we don't confuse each other. When the two suspects entered and the first one produces a firearm, Zandile Khumalo then runs to a bedroom that is opposite the kitchen, that's facing the kitchen like this, correct?
Bangenileke labo babili ke lona oqala ke esekhiphe isibhamu noma ephethe ke isibhamu wasebaleka ke uKelly engena ke ikamera eli qondene nekhishi.
Yebo njalo.
Yes, that's correct.
And your story is...
Why do you say story? Please. Just say evidence, please. We are lawyers.
Okay, all right. Your testimony or evidence is that the second suspect then follows or chases after Kelly to that bedroom, correct?
Uthike noma ubufakazi bakho buthike lo wesibili ke wase elandela ke uKelly ukuya kulelo kamera.
Yebo kunjani?
Yes, that's correct.
And in that process, Kelly gets into the room and closes the door, and the second suspect tries to push the door from the outside, correct?
Ubona ke lokho uKelly usongiyangena ke kamereni uyavala ke umnyango nomstapha ke lona yena ke uyazama ke ukuthi asivule asipush.
Yebo kunjani?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, where were you when you observed that interaction between Kelly and the second suspect?
Wawukuphi nendawo wena ke uma ubona lokho kwenzeka phakathi kwalo msolo wakhe kanye naye uKelly?
Ngangisahleli phansi la bengibonise khona ukuthi bengihleli khona.
I was still seated at the same position that I had pointed.
By the way, when did this second suspect enter the house?
Yena ke lo wesibili umsolo wangena nini noma ngasiphi isikhathi endlini?
Njengoba bese ngishilo ukuthi bangene belandelana. Wathi omunye mayima phambili, omunye wama ngasekishini.
As I've already said that as they came in, they were following each other. So as the one just stood there, and then the other one stood in the kitchen.
Was the second suspect also armed with a weapon of some sort?
Ingaba nalona owesibili ke naye sikhona isikhali awayesiphethe.
Angikubonanga lokho.
I didn't see that.
Now, clarify for me this. In your evidence, you say the second suspect stood next to the stove. Do you recall saying that yesterday?
Uyakhumbula yini noma asiqale lana ke ngicela ungichazele lokho. Uthe kubufakazi bakho lo wesibili ke wema ke eceleni kwestove. Uyayikhumbula usho lokho?
Ngiyakhumbula ngisho lokho kodwa ngithe phakathi naphakathi eminyango lo okungenisela epassage.
Yes,
ukuthi inestofu futhi khona la eceleni kwakhona.
I remember saying that, but I said it was in the middle between the door that now leads to the passage. There is a stove right there or next to it.
Now, the second suspect does not manage to open the door where Kelly has, the bedroom door where Kelly has run to. What then happens to this second suspect if you observe that?
Manje ke lona owesibili ke examine kwakhe ke ukuthi avuleke umnyango lowo ke walelo kamera uKelly angene kulona ke akaphumelelanga kulokho. Kwase kwenzekani ke ngayi lona owesibili?
Njengoba bese ngichazile ukuthi akuzange ukuthi aphushe kanye noma kabili bese yayeka. Kwakuyi push and pull khona lapha eminyango.
As I've already said that it was just not a matter of him only pushing once or twice and then he stopped. It was a pushing and pulling right there at the door.
Yes, I understand that, but what I'm asking is this. Once he did not succeed, after that pushing and pulling, once he didn't succeed, Kelly's still in the bedroom, right?
Kuko ngiyakuzwa ke uma usho lokho kodwa ke ngikubuza ukuthi angithi ukuzamile ke lokho futhi ke akaphumelelanga kodwa ke kona lokho uKelly wayesengaphakathi ekamereni.
Mawuthi akaphumelelanga ngicela ucacisela.
If you say that he didn't succeed, if you
Ngoba
just
mina ngibonanga mayithi akaphumelelanga or usebonise ngathi akaphumelelanga.
because I didn't see that he didn't succeed or that there were signs that he didn't succeed. If you can just explain that to me when you say he didn't succeed.
Did he manage to enter that room where Kelly Khumalo was?
Wakwazi ukuthi angene kulelo kamera uKelly awayekulona?
Cha.
No.
Then my question is that after that, when he couldn't enter that room, what happened to him? Where did he go?
Engikubuzayo ke ukuthi emuva kwalokho ke esengakwazanga ukuthi angene kulelo kamera wayapi?
lalela njengoba bese ngichazile ukuthi kwakuyi action eyayenzeka laphana. So eya elandela uKelly ekamereni and then uLongwe waphusha lo wamadrets wamusala emuva sasukuma sonke samba dudula saya na kitchen.
Listen here, what then happens, all of that was like in an action. So when he did that, that's when Longwe stood up and then pushed this one. And we all then stood up and pushed them, went with them towards to the kitchen.
Now, just to track back a bit, when the second suspect entered the house, the first suspect says, money and cell phones, we want money and cell phones, to that effect. What did this second suspect say, if anything at all?
Nanjengoba lo wokuqala uma engena wathi ke khiphani imali nama cellphone, uma kuukuthi ke lo wesibili kukhona wakusho yini awayisho yena lo wesibili?
Cha akashongo lutho.
No, he didn't say anything.
And at the time of this incident, where are the children, Kelly Khumalo's children?
Ngesikhathi ke salesi sigameko ke babe kuphi ke abantwana bakaKelly?
Mangikhumbula kahle uChristian wayelokhe yaphansi phezulu kodwa uThingo ngase ngimthathile ngawumlalisa ekamereni.
If I remember well, Christian was moving up and down, but I had already taken Tingo to go to the bedroom to sleep.
Now, let's come to this aspect of Mokgoatlheng pushing the first suspect out or away, and then him leaving the house via the kitchen door.
Ake sizeke kulodaba lwakhe uLongwethwala ke esesukuma ke esephusha lona ke owoqala wase eyaphuma yena.
Now, the person that you say Mokgoatlheng pushed is the first suspect, the one with dreadlocks and the one in possession of a firearm, correct?
Lona othi waphushwa uLongwe ilo owoqala owayinama dreadlocks futhi ephethe spam angithi?
Yebo kunjani?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, when you say Longwe stands up, approaches this first suspect and pushes him, the person with the firearm at the time, is the firearm still pointed at the people in the house?
Uma uthi ke uLongwe wasukuma waya waqonda kuyena wase emphusha, ingabe ngaleso sikhathi ke lo owoqala isibhamu wayesasikhombile ekhombe abantu noma esanikhombile ngaso ngaleso sikhathi uLongwe akwenza lokho?
Wasikhomba kodwa uLongwe mayemphushela le kusho ukuthi kwa sasuka kuthina ngoba wayesehlehlile.
Yes, he pointed the firearm at us, but then when Longwe pushed him aside, then it means that it was now not pointing at us anymore because he moved.
Let's perhaps stick with this photo 57. The first aspect, according to your testimony, is pushed by Mokgoatlheng. Remind me again where Mokgoatlheng was seated.
Ngicela futhi ukuthi uLongwe wayehlezi kuphi nendaba?
uLongwe wayehlezi la eqaleni. Esofeni.
Longwe was seated where the witness is pointing, right at the beginning of the couch.
And when he pushes the first suspect, where does he push him to? Or against what? Relative to that picture.
Uma empusha umphushela kuphi? Uma usebenzisa isithombe lesiyana.
Kulesi sithombe akubonakali kodwa wamphushela ephasitsheni.
It's not visible on this photo, but he pushed him towards the passage.
If I may request that perhaps photo 58 be shown. No, let's check 59. I'll come to that. There's a photo that I need. I'll come back to that. And now, when Longwe pushes this first suspect away, what does the first suspect do? As a result?
Uma ulongwe semphusha ke wenzani ke yena lo ophushwayo ophushwa ulongwe?
wahlehla wayemuva.
You moved backwards.
And the second suspect, what does it do as Longwe pushes the first suspect?
Manje ke wenzani lo wesibili uma ulongwe ephusha lo wokuqala?
Ngokukhumbula kwami wayeseselapha emnyango.
As far as I can recall, he was still there at the door.
But what I'm asking is, did he take any action or he didn't?
Engikubuzayo ukuthi ngabe khona yini awakwenza noma cha?
Angisakukhumbuli kahle.
I can't recall that well.
Beg your indulgence, my lord. We're looking for.
What's that?
We beg your indulgence. I'm looking for the appropriate code.
Okay.
Yeah, but perhaps the previous question, to clarify, Longwe is seated towards the right of that sofa. He stands up and pushes. There's a what looks like a heater there. Relative to that, where does the first suspect, in fact, what happens to him when he's pushed? Does he fall off? Does he stumble? What happens to the first suspect when he's pushed?
Kwenzekani kuyena uma esephushwa ke engabuyawa khona la ashayiseka khona kwenzekani kuyena uma ephushwa?
Wahlehla nje wabonisa ukuthi ibalance ayikho kahle.
He just moved backwards as the witnesses just indicating that he wasn't that well balanced.
Now, let's make this make sense. The first suspect in possession of a firearm gets pushed by somebody from the house in a robbery situation, yet he does nothing after he's been pushed.
That's a complex matter. That matter should be left for argument.
Speculation. Because you are saying he does nothing.
I'll leave
And
it
she
to
is
argument.
saying he was pushed, and from her observation, he must have lost his balance. That's
I'll
what
leave
she
that
says.
for argument at the close of the case.
Mm.
Now, before Longwe pushed the first suspect away or off, did you at any stage hear the cocking or the raking of a gun at any point?
Ngaphambilini kokuthi ulongwe amphusheke ingabe wakuzwa yini ngalokho ke ekuthiwa ukhokhwa kwesibhamu ukuthi kwenzeka lokho la khona isibhamu sibanga umsindo ukusho ukuthi uyasikhokha?
Hayi angikhumbuli.
No, I don't recall.
Now, after how long, after Longwe had escaped from the house, according to your evidence, does the first shot get fired?
Kusemuva kwesikhathi esingakanani uLongwe ephumile endlini ngokukhumbula kwakho ukuqhuma kwesibhamu siqhuma ihlandla lokuqala?
Ngokwazi wami angikaze ngibheke isikhathi. And uma kunesehlakalo esinje, isikhathi is the last thing on your mind.
As far as I know, I never looked at the time, and when such an incident occurs or takes place, time is the last thing on your mind.
Now, in fact, I jumped the gun. Let me start here. Your evidence is that after Longwe had escaped from the house, all of you stand up from your relative position from the couches and you all approach the first suspect, push him towards the kitchen, correct?
Uthi kubufakazi bakho emuva kokuthi uLongwe esebalekileke noma esephumileke endlini nasenonke nisukuma-ke naya kulo owokuqala nimdudula noma nimphusha.
Sabadudula bobabili, asithathanga oyedwa noma umude noma umfishane, sabadudula bonke bobabili sana bekitchen.
We pushed both of them. We didn't take the short one or the tall one. We pushed both of them to the kitchen.
And when you say all of you stood up, is there a specific person who stood up first or initiated this approach of the first suspect and the pushing that happened thereafter?
Uma uthi nonke ingabe ukhona yini owasukuma kuqala kwawuyena ke oqalayo ke ukuthi aduduleke lona owoqala uma uthi nje nasukuma nonke ingabe ukhona yini okwawuyena osukuma kuqala waphusha?
Angikhumbula ukuthi ubani wasukuma kuqala kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi sasukuma.
No, I can't remember or recall as to who stood up first, but I remember that we stood up.